Brought to you by the Capital One Savor Card. With Savor, you earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining, entertainment, and at grocery stores. That's unlimited cash back on ordering takeout from home, or unlimited cash back on tickets to concerts and games. So grab a bite, grab a seat, and earn unlimited 3% cash back with the Savor Card. Capital One. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details. This message is brought to you by the Capital One Venture X card. Venture X offers the premium benefits you expect, like a $300 annual Capital One travel credit for less than you expect. Elevate your earn with unlimited double miles on every purchase, bringing you one step closer to your next dream destination. Plus, enjoy access to over 1,000 airport lounges worldwide. The Capital One Venture X card. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
This is Talkin' Rock. Talkin' Rock. Your backstage pass to some of your favorite rock artists. Here's your host, Meltdown.
Welcome into another non-award-winning edition of the Talkin' Rock with Meltdown podcast. Another good one on tap. David Fishof. He's been the curator of this rock and roll fantasy camp for 30 years. He's going to be up second here on the podcast today. He's got great stories to tell. This guy could tell stories all day long. I think I talked to him for 20 minutes. We could have talked for like an hour and a half, 3 hours. Didn't matter. He's just got some awesome stories. But anyways, we'll get to that coming up here in a few minutes. First, I was contacted to see if I wanted to talk to Gil Moore from Triumph. And I just talked with all the guys from Triumph. You can see that interview up on YouTube. That was from last November, I want to say. Might have been December. I don't know. Anyways, it wasn't that long ago. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to talk to Gil because since I've talked to him, you know, the dates have all been announced. And now I want to see how rehearsals are going. I wanted to see how this thing was going to work between, you know, Brent Fitz and Todd Kerns and Phil X and, of course, all the guys in Triumph. So he explains that as well and a ton more. But, yeah, it's like one of these things where, you know, I just talked to Gil, but now the ball is actually rolling. And so I wanted to see, you know, how things were going as far as rehearsals and everything like that, set lists and whatnot. So Gil, of course, and, you know, let's be honest, all the bands in Canada, the Canadian bands, so nice to talk to. And we got to talk a little bit of hockey as well because, you know, we're right in the midst of the Olympics. Gil Moore starts us off today on Talkin' Rock.
Hey, Meltdown.
Hey, how are you, Gil?
I'm good, man. Good to be talking to you again.
Yeah, for sure. I thought, you know, we'll get into Triumph here in a second, but we've got to talk hockey. So I scored this morning, pretty nice goal and an assist from former Vancouver Canuck and Calgary Flame Brendan Morris. And then I tried to give him the puck in the slot, and he proceeded to hit the goalie. I can't score for all these guys, as you know. But anyways, U.S. and Canada looks like it could happen coming up on Sunday.
Yeah, I know. Pretty exciting. We'll have to see what comes out. I understand they played Never Surrender after the victory. The last victory, they played Never Surrender. So our social media just lit up from all the fans telling us that.
That's awesome. Yeah, of course. Here in the States, they play Freebird. You know, that's kind of been the chosen song now. But have you been paying attention to this stuff at the Olympics?
You know what? We've been so busy rehearsing, I haven't been able to get right into it. So it's been nonstop here with Triumph rehearsals and also putting together the new drum riser and the drum sets that we're using and stuff. So I've been coming out of here just kind of exhausted after doing all the rehearsing and hitting the gym as hard as I'm hitting it. So yeah, the hockey kind of took a back seat a little bit over the last few weeks, but I'm trying to keep abreast of it with my buddies that are like hardcore and that are watching everything. Keep me up to date.
Yeah, well, the gold medal game is Sunday at 8:10, and it looks right now like it could be the U.S. and Canada. But let's switch gears because you led me right into what I wanted to talk about. So how's rehearsals going? Tell me everything that's going on right now. Last time I talked to you, the shows were just being announced. It was you and Rick and Mike, and now things. This thing is starting to roll now, isn't it?
Yeah. Brent Fitz was just in town. He came in from Vegas, and so we were working on the drums for the last 4 days. He just headed back actually out to Winnipeg. So that was a lot of fun. Like, we got some amazing new gear that we're using, and we worked on some arrangements here hard at Metalworks, and just keeping the other guys, informed over FaceTime, and looking forward to the next get together with everybody. Like, Rick and I are working, and Mike are working, as we're on our own schedule. But Phil and Todd and Brent, they'll be coming in. We were looking at the 23rd of March, but I think we're going to back it up and get them hopefully even a week before that. So we're going to have, I would say, probably 2 full band rehearsal weeks at Metalworks Studios, and then we move into the Hard Rock in Orlando, and we have about, I think, 4 or 5 production rehearsals in the Hard Rock, and then we launch the first date down there. So a lot of rehearsing coming up, a lot of getting in shape, but it's a lot of fun, and kind of rediscovering my instrument and rediscovering singing again in a good way. So I'm loving it.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah. And so let me get this straight. So I was going to ask you about the production aspect of it. I was in Nashville one time. There's this big, gigantic building down there where bands will go through their entire set production and everything. So that's what you're going to do down there in Orlando, like you were saying. So is there anything, obviously it's been a long time since you toured. What kind of different things are you going to be implementing into the set as far as like from a production standpoint when Triumph hits the stage again this year?
The only way it's comparable, Meltdown, is the fact that we always brought theater to the stage back in the day. So we were always trying to do things different and be one step ahead with production techniques, just to really get the audience into the music, really, to emphasize the music. But the difference being is now is the technology has changed. So the Triumph of yore, and that type of show is it's so much easier to do the things now that we want to do, and in a more impactful way. I mean, video was never much of a factor back then, if at all, whereas now video is a big part of the mix. And I can't wait to see our lighting director, Paul Dexter, is working extremely closely with us on all the designs and everything, and I can't wait to see it when it's set up in an arena and it's all there in front of us. It's going to be something else.
Now, I know that the guys from like Trans-Siberian Orchestra, they'll rent out an arena like in Wichita or something, and they'll actually set up 2 different stages where the band will be playing at one stage and the production will be going on the other stage. You guys probably, I'm assuming, aren't going to do anything as elaborate as that, are you?
Well, it's just different. We will be, not only we're doing production rehearsals in Orlando, after we leave there, we go and we play the Hard Rock Seminole in Hollywood, Florida. And then we head straight to Sault Ste. Marie, where we have, which is up north of Michigan,
right,
where we have 2 more production rehearsal days, full arena rehearsals there. So altogether, I'd say we have like 6 or 7 full production rehearsals. Band rehearsals, it's more like 25, something like that.
Yeah.
But don't forget, because a lot of the production stuff, we're working with the designers and Paul's and his team, and that's going on in the background. They're already working on that. Like, a lot of the show is already put together, and these consoles now that they use, whether it's a sound console or a lighting console, they'll have built-in memories and everything. They're basically like big computers. So it's not like you show up in the arena and you have nothing and you start from scratch. It's like, no, we show up in the Hard Rock or in GFL Gardens in Sault Ste. Marie, and most of this stuff is dialed in. So you're kind of tweaking it, and the band is already pre-rehearsed. So we're not going to waste a lot of time with how does this song go again, that kind of stuff.
Right. So do you pretty much have a set list ready to go, or is it kind of interchangeable? How you doing with that?
It's pretty much ready to go, but I'm saying we're tweaking some of the arrangements, and I would say there's maybe like 2-3 songs that could either be added or taken out. So there's like a for sure list and then a maybe list, and that kind of depends as we start rehearsing on which ones really, the band consensus is, these are really the best ones, so we'll make those adjustments in rehearsals probably. So we'll probably rehearse more songs than we're actually going to play.
And when was the last time you did a rehearsal with Triumph?
Well, we rehearsed for the movie, for our
okay, that's
documentary.
true. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Right. So Mike and Rick and I played 3 songs in the documentary, and we rehearsed quite a bit. But before that, when we played in 2008, when we played Rocklahoma and Sweden, which we did that for our kids as well, and I thought that was going to be the final time they were never going to see Triumph again. But that was a lot of rehearsals. I'd say we did like 50 rehearsals to get ready for those two for the Sweden Rock and for Rocklahoma. So similar amount going on here now. Like I play drums 7 days a week. I sing 7 days a week. Rick and I are on the phone every single day. It's it's pretty intense getting ready, Meltdown. I'll tell you that.
I can imagine. Hey, final thing here for you because I'm running out of time. But explain. You probably answered this a billion times, but you got Brent and Todd and Phil and stuff. So you guys have like a whole Triumph band. So can you explain how this is actually gonna work, or is this going to be kind of a trial by fire thing? How's this going to happen?
Well, it's kind of simple. I'd say this, like basically every band that's, of our generation, they've always got a few extra musicians on stage. I don't know one that doesn't. So we're kind of no different in that regard. I guess what's different here is like Phil was also a member of Triumph.
Yeah.
So you got Rik Emmett and Phil X, start there on guitar. There's a double-barreled shotgun for sure. 2 of the greatest rock guitar players you'll ever see. And sharing the stage. The way they hit it off personally, because you just have to be there to see it. I mean, it was just a marriage made in heaven. Like, they both appreciate each other's playing and virtuosity so much. And I'm behind both of them on the kit, and I'm just listening. It doesn't matter whether I listen to Rick or Phil. All I hear is this great stuff. We decided with me being a singing drummer, better to have a second drummer because we need a keyboard player as well. So we've got Brent, who's a master on both instruments. He's a great keyboard player, great drummer. And then Todd, because we're not sure about Mike's health. So
right.
Todd's got to be there. Todd Kerns is a wicked bass player, and he's a freaking rock star. Everyone that's seen him on stage with Slash or any of his, they've all seen Todd Kerns. He's an amazing vocalist and an amazing bass player. So, I mean, we've got a race car. We've got a lot of horsepower. So I'm not worried about the stage, right? I'm not worried about what's going to happen on stage. There was a lot of the confusion when we started, I'll say, is we kept saying no. We kept saying we're not going to be there. Prior to this tour, there was the mixed reality tour that I was talking about, and a lot of people said, well, you must have known you were going to do this. You just didn't tell anybody. I was like, no, we didn't know. This came together. Like, I'm being honest. It was just serendipity. It fell together during the NHL, programming when we went out and decided again to play at that Oilers game, and when they looked like they might win the Stanley Cup until the Panthers took it, and that was it. It was like, let's have some fun with our family. Let's go out there. Always wanted to be in the NHL. Never made it. Might have driven a Zamboni if I stuck with it, but it was better to play drums at the hockey game than probably left wing. I think I do better as a drummer.
Well, there you go. Well, Saturday, May 30th, a Saturday show here in Detroit, an outdoor show at Freedom Hill at the Michigan Lottery Amphitheater. And I, for one, am looking forward to this. And it sounds like it's going to be a great tour for you guys. I don't know if I'll talk to you again before then. So if I don't, have great rehearsals, have a great tour. We'll see you here in Detroit.
Yeah, buddy. Come backstage and say hi to the band when we're there.
I will for sure. Gil, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Meltdown.
If you haven't heard of Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, I don't know what you're thinking. I don't know what you're doing. Punch it up on YouTube and watch some of the clips from the documentary they released a few years ago. It's fascinating. It gives average Joe Blow musicians chances to work, learn, be in the same room with some of their rock and roll heroes, some of their rock and roll legends. For example, the one clip I saw online, it's like these guys are jamming, I think it was Peace Sells, but Who's Buying or something like that. And Dave Mustaine is in the room from Megadeth. I mean, how crazy is that, right? So anyways, David Fishof, he's like the guy who started this whole thing 30 years ago. And he was nice enough to join me. You can watch this online as well at WRIF.com. And of course, on YouTube also. David, great to see you, man. Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp. This is something that's been going on for 3 decades. And you've got stories to tell. But first of all, before we started here, you're like, you love the riff. So this I got to hear. So go ahead.
Okay, I love the riff because you've kept classic rock going for all these years, and I can't tell you how many stations that your listeners should know have gone away from classic rock and they're going away from DJs. But you've kept that the authentic rock and roll. Now, years ago, the Who was opening a tour in Detroit. And boy, my mind's going, I can't remember what's name, but your general manager is a young lady who was a friend of mine for years. I don't know if she's still there, but I called her up and because Roger Dolce calls me up and says, listen, we're doing our first show in Detroit. Can you find out what's the best charity that we could give money to from our show? So I said, I said, let me call, and I called the station. And I don't know her name. We'll think of it. Yeah. Anyway, she said if the Who, give the homeless shelter can really use money. And I went to Roger and said, this is the charity you should use, the homeless shelter. And the Who donated $1 million fee to that. And just like one call to the radio station, what's the best charity? And then Roger saying, I want to give money to our first concert. And, two incredible. So I get excited. I'm sorry. When that thing happens, that doesn't happen every day, that you get a call from a rock star saying, we want to give all our money away of her show. And so anyways, Meltdown, it's so good to be here.
Yeah, great story, man. Now if you were to call, you could say you could give it to the Meltdown charity. See, but anyways, no. Roger's going to be part of one of your upcoming camps coming up April 23rd through the 26th. Steve Morris, of course, also in April, Tommy Lee and Detroiter John 5.
Well, it's exciting. It's my 30th anniversary. Yeah. I'm pulling out the biggest and the best. So this next weekend, I got Stuart Copeland. We're going to celebrate our 30th year. And then Roger Daltrey. I mean, he's the reason I'm still doing Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp. He did his first camp for me. Years ago when I first started, I went to Roger and I flew to England and I said, Roger, I would love you to do my camp. And he says to me, your camp, you should do a camp. Well, the word camp in England is different than the word camp where I went to summer camp here. And he says, you should do the camp with the Thompson twins and the Village People, because, camp is a little different in England. And I said, no, this is what it's about. Tell me if you had a fan, if you had a musician that you could meet and you could jam with, but who would it be? He turns to me and says, Levon Helm of the band. You introduced me to Levon Helm of the band. I'll fly anywhere. Then I turned to him and I said, Levon and I are good friends. He just did my Ringo tour. And I work with him. I said, he's very short on money. I know why I came up with that. It just always mind-boggled me that these musicians have had such careers and they haven't been able to manage their money. And Roger turned to me and says, whatever you're going to give me, give it to him. I want to meet him. And I called Levon up and I said, Levon, would you come and meet Roger Daltrey? He'll do my camp. David, I'll be there for you. And he came down to the city to meet Roger. And what's ironic is years later, when I was managing him, I get a call from Eric Clapton saying, I'm inducting the band and I would love to have Levon Helm come. And Levon said, I'm not going there. Robert Robinson, I'm not going to be there. So he came to camp. And he showed up to camp to do a camp for me. But that's how I got Roger Daltrey. And once I got Roger, the camp just took it, to the next level.
Yeah, I was going to say, once it starts, one of my friends, they do this Comic-Con here. And once word gets around that it's a decent Comic-Con and you make a few bucks, people start, it makes it easier to get guests. And I suppose same thing with you.
Yeah, it makes it easy to get guests. For me, it's not the money. For me, it's the experience. I think that what attracts these rock stars to camp, the big names, is it reminds them what it was like when they first started. It's Jeff Beck said to me, it was my opportunity to give people back a musician. Where am I going to go? I'm going to hang out with a fan. I'd rather hang out with a teach them teach them licks. And, Gene Simmons said to me, for me, it was about, I wish they had this 50 years ago. A few months ago, I did Alice Cooper. And, he's incredible. He loves the fan and he loves to see these musicians because they're fellow musicians. So, I think that's really what it is for the musicians. And I've been very fortunate for 30 years to get them.
No, it's funny because not only is it something funny, great memories, but the fulfillment factor has to be off the charts to watch some of these people sit in the same room with their idols and play in front of them, play with them, get advice from them. It's got to be crazy.
One of my favorite scenes, if you saw the movie Rock Camp, It's on Amazon Prime. So when you see that Dave Mustaine walking into a room, now, I could have changed that music to like Jaws music. Dave Mustaine's walking into a room. That's intimidating. And him teaching, and him being so sincere and teaching people the music and the chords. And it's one of my favorite scenes in the movie. But it is intimidating. But in the end, I think for the campers, if they can get through that, and that's our biggest problem. Let me be right honest. It's not that people don't have money. It's the same price as going on a cruise. I mean, you know what it is? It's a fear factor. I'm scared. I'm going to jam with these people and I might not be as good. I'm successful and I might not be as good. But the ones who get through that fear, they keep coming back. Over 50% of our campers return and the other 50% eventually come back. And I get it. Now, let me tell you. I had a meltdown when I was invited to go to Michael Jordan's fantasy camp. So I love basketball, and thank God your Pistons are doing well, but my Celtics beat you the other night. Yeah. Anyways, I could have gone to Michael Jordan fantasy camp, and I said to my friend, "Thank you for inviting me. I'm not going. I'm not going to try to play one-on-one with Michael Jordan and look like an idiot." And then you got all the campers coming there. They're really strict about it. And they're going to put me on their team, and so I get it that people are scared. But you shouldn't be, because once you go through this experience, you'll realize it's not about competition. It's not about winning. It's not a competitive situation. You can be a beginner guitarist. What it's about is if you play your instrument with someone better than you, you're going to get better. And I think Tony Robbins said it. If you immerse yourself in this experience for 4 days nonstop, it's going to give you that passion. You're going to keep on playing. And to see where these musicians have gone after the camps, where they've joined tribute bands, they write songs, they go on the road and they meet each other up and they play and they open shows. And I've seen the growth of the musicians, and I don't promise. 30 years I'm doing this. I will never promise anyone your career is going to be made. You can make a career, because it's all BS. But I've seen it. I've seen the drummer in Eagles from death metal. She used to, because Louis Bluestone. She came to camp. Her brother was a guitar player. She came as a kid, and she was just sitting and always watching her brother. And then Rudy Sarzo tells her, "Why don't you come into my band room here and play a little? What do you want to play?" She starts playing the drums. And then he starts teaching her and showing how the bass player and the drummer work together. She enrolls in Berklee School of Music. She has Rudy Sarzo as like a mentor. And next thing you know, she's the drummer in Eagles of death metal. I mean, I've seen so many of these young musicians who've come to camp. I went to see the bass player of Metallica. His son has a band. I went to meet him. And I walk into the dressing room, but I was trying to get him to come to camp. And the drummer comes to me and says, "Mr. Fishof, I came to your camp 10 years ago. Look at me now." So it's different. When we were growing up, our parents didn't encourage us to be in a band. My brother's a drummer. My parents, the last thing they said, you're going to accounting school. You're going to be an accountant. You're not going to be a drummer. And he is a drummer, because that's his life. And Joe Perry at one camp said, he said a line to a camper. He says, "What do you do for a living?" The guy says, "I'm an accountant, and on weekends I play guitar in my band." And he said, the guy says, "You're full of crap." He says, "You're a guitarist first. You do that accounting BS to buy guitars." So, the truth comes.
No, that's great. It's funny because I never learned to play an instrument. That's one of the questions I get all the time.
Me neither.
Yeah.
Me neither.
Yeah. And, it's like I saw Ted Nugent back in September. He texted me. He's like, what'd you think of the show? I go, "You're the reason I don't play guitar, because if I can't manhandle a guitar like you, I don't even want to bother." But that being said, I was talking to Derek St. Holmes just today. I talked to Bumblefoot. I talked to David Ellefson, and they all said the same thing. first of all, they all love you. And second of all, they all wanted me to ask you about this this documentary that you're working on with these Israeli musicians.
Wow. Okay. Well, okay. So this is someone came over to me after last week. I showed it in New York, and they said to me, David, a schoolmate of mine, he said, the reason you did Rock and Roll Fans Camp for 30 years is this documentary. It's incredible. And I have to thank them all for participating. Following October 7th, the movie's called The Bridge. Following October 7th, I went to Israel and to visit my son. And a dear friend of mine arranged for me to get a private tour of the devastation that happened October 7th. I'm a Holocaust survivor's kid. My dad survived Auschwitz and Buchenwald concentration camp. So I went down there. And the mayor of the town gave me a tour of Kibbutz Be'eri, the Nova Festival, Kibbutz Magen. And I go around to these places, and after 3 hours, she turns to me and she said, David, I have to leave. I said, but where are you going? She said, I'm going to a funeral of one of the 3 hostages that was killed by friendly fire. I said, which one? She said, the one, his name is Yotam Chaim, and he was a metal drummer. He loved the drums. And his brother's a drummer, his father's a drummer. I show up to the funeral. I said, I'm going to that funeral. I go to the funeral, 3,500 people are there, and it opens up with his brother set up his drum set right in front of the grave. And he played the drums for 20 minutes solo and then took the sticks and threw them in the grave. And I said to myself, if I could bring that drummer to Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, I wish I could bring him, but his brother, I'll change his life. I mean, they're going through such devastation. I go back that night. I turned to my friend Sam. I said, Sam, I want to bring 10 Israelis to my rock camp who were victims of October 7th. And they got to be rockers. They got to be. I don't want Israeli folk singers, nothing against them, but I want people like Beatles, Stones, Zeppelin. So he put out a call, and they found these musicians. Britt Lightning, our musical director, she interviewed them, and we picked 10 musicians, and we brought them to. It was a Van Halen's camp with Michael Anthony, and the drummer, the guitar player from Rat was there, and then of course Warren DeMartini, and of course Sebastian Bach, and the drummer from Whitesnake, Tommy Aldridge.
Aldridge, yeah.
So they were coming to the camp. Now I had 3 issues. Now here they were. I couldn't tell anybody what I was doing. I couldn't tell the press. And I was afraid to get media and protesters. And these protesters, they're paid. I was afraid to get them to come. And because I was afraid it would scare off the campers and the Israelis. Number 2, I couldn't tell my campers because, these people pay a nice price to come to Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp. And I was afraid to get somebody who said, I didn't want to come here to play with a bunch of Israelis. And it could have been, who knows? They don't know what it's about. And then I was afraid of the rock stars. So because many of the rock stars might have said, oh, I don't want to get involved in politics, or at least their managers would have said. And well, anyways, I didn't tell anybody. And that morning, when I welcomed the campers to camp, I announced, ladies and gentlemen, I met 10 heroes. Meet this young lady. She was at the Nova Festival. She's a singer. Meet this guitar player, Kibbutz Magen. He saved the entire kibbutz. He's the guitar player. The bass player, his father's a hostage. And on. I introduced him. Well, it was incredible. They all got up, 100 people, and they gave him a standing ovation. The non-Jews came running over to me and said, we want to call our band Sela, rock. That's a Hebrew word for rock. The 5 Jewish customers of mine said, David, if I don't play another note, I got my money's worth. This is incredible. And it became a love affair. And the first day they played with Tommy Aldridge. And I turned to Tommy after him jamming with him. And I said, Tommy, you see the picture on that guy's amp? His father is a hostage, and this is who they are. And he said, wow. And they were all blown away, everybody. And it just became a love affair. Now I had filmed it, and I documented it all. Then I went back to Israel to tell the stories. I wanted to see how they were doing and improving. Well, I went to Kevin Bright. Kevin Bright is the executive producer of Friends. And I went to him, and I basically looking for money. You do a doc, you got to raise money. And he said to me, David, I'm not giving you money. He said, I'm going to make the movie for you. He says, it's an incredible story. And he produced an incredible film, and it's called The Bridge. We're waiting now to get into Tribeca Film Festival and then, get into a big film festival. What's incredible is Slash He gave me a video. Gene and Paul are in the film, and you really see it's not political. It's all about how music heals, and it's really about how I wanted to show how hip the Israelis, they're into music. They're not into this. They're not. It's all about music.
Right.
Diane Warren, I wrote to her and I said, Kevin said, get an original song from her for like a title song. 20 minutes later, she sent me a song that the Americans came over and recorded in Israel. So I'm very excited about the film, as you can tell. And hopefully it'll have a national release next year.
No, that's fantastic. Yeah, all of them told me about that. They said, you got to ask about that. I mean, we could sit here and tell a story. I mean, you have so many stories I couldn't even imagine. Just in my career of 36 years, I have a million stories, but I can't imagine the stories you have. But the 30th anniversary, congratulations on something that's really, really cool, man. I wish I played an instrument just so I could come over there and screw up in front of all these guys.
Me too. I wish I could play too. I'd be embarrassed to play, but I couldn't get my hand on that F chord, and that's when I quit after my 7th guitar lesson.
Well, my hands aren't that big either, so I don't know if I could do that myself. But no, Bumblefoot and John Five, two of the greatest guitar players I've ever seen.
Oh, amazing. Amazing. Tommy Lee coming to Rock Camp. Yeah. Roger Daltrey, Stuart Copeland. Yeah, just go to my website, rockcamp.com, and make sure you see the movie. I really want people to see the previous movie that came out a few years ago. It's on Amazon Prime.
That was great. And you're talking about the Dave Mustaine scene, but
yes, yeah.
The one kid, if I remember correctly, the one guy, he had a Black Label jacket on, and I know Zach, a little bit, and he got to play in front of Dave Mustaine, and then he brought his son to camp. That was an unbelievable moment. Yeah. Unbelievable
moment. And the kid is doing great now. He comes to a lot of camps and he jams, and it's amazing. That's Scott Keller, an incredible person.
But for people that don't know about him, was he born with like some sort of he had some sort of brain damage or something?
Brain damage, but the father quit work. He's the head of McKinsey, and he quit work for 5 years to put into his son. Now he's writing a book. He's going to be doing a book on the young man. He's going to tour it. His name is Scott Keller, and he's a very big, best-selling author. And I have to say that I can't tell you how many people saw the film and called me up and said, my son my daughter's in a mental hospital. My husband and I aren't together because of it. This guy put so much time into his son to get in, and that you can show that the effect that a parent can have instead of giving up. And he's a very special person, Scott Keller.
Well, it's not
all
only
those people.
Yeah, it's not only the parent too, which obviously a lot of kudos go to him, but it's also like you just mentioned. It's like the music. It kind of bridges the gap. It's the bridge.
It's the bridge, and that's what the movie. That's why Kevin called it The Bridge, to show you how they went from tragedy to the happiness, and you see how the music of rock and roll changed these Israelis' lives.
Well, David, keep up the great work. We're going to push everybody towards your website and give you a nice plug here. Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, and what more can be said about it? But just an awesome job.
Thank you so much, Meltdown. I hope to see you at camp. Come on, you can play tambourine.
I could try to do something I said with tambourine. I'd probably botch that too. Oh, man, a big thank you to David. Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp. That dude has stories for days. We'll have to get him back on sometime just to tell some of these rock and roll stories. Really cool. And also thanks to Gil Moore from Triumph for kind of checking in, letting us know where the band is at right now, getting ready for their tour, which starts up later on this spring and then goes through the summer as well. So really cool. Looking forward to seeing that show right here in Detroit on Saturday, May 30th at Freedom Hill. And got to thank you for listening to Talkin' Rock. Well, as the big guy would say.
Thank you for listening to Talkin' Rock with Meltdown. You can help this podcast grow by giving it a 5-star rating and writing a review on Apple and iTunes. Plus, feel free to subscribe and share it with your friends. Until next time, thanks for listening to Talkin' Rock.